This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Darren Hazelwood, the CEO of Panther Metals, following news that the company have submitted an exploration permit application for additional drilling on the Awkward Graphite project at the Abonga project. Well, thank you very much, Darren, for joining us today. How are you? You have a pleasant Easter weekend?
I did, thanks, Mark. And yourself?
Yes, very good. Thank you, Darren. So it's good to be getting back and seeing this news here. You're looking at you getting active on this project here. So as I understand, this follows the intersection of what you say significant widths of graphite mineralization comprising of 27.2 meters at 2.25% total graphitic carbon 1. I wonder if, first of all, you can perhaps just explain the significance of that. And I understand there's not been very many drilling past campaigns on this project, only two, one a long time ago and this one that we're talking about now that Panther did.
Yeah, and that's into the sediments on the area, Mark, and that's significant. We believe that the sediments host the graphite, and nobody's ever, because people have been looking for nickel, platinum, palladium in that area, so they've always ignored the sediments. And the hole in the 60s was drilled right, it just clipped the edge of the sediments, and it returned, the whole report has got graphite in it, but they never assayed the hole, which was common in them days, right? It was a huge effort to drag core out of the bush. And then, we come along, we were targeting an anomaly, that, which is why we drilled through the sediments, and we hit 27.2 meters of graphite at 2.25%. So, really pleasing and significant. It's without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, well, of course, that original, as you say in the RNS, the graphite just wasn't interesting back in the 60s, but as we know now, it's very useful for batteries, really, isn't it? It's for the battery technology that's coming with the EV revolution. Is that drilling result you've got there, can you perhaps put that into context? I mean, what does graphitic carbon 1 mean? Does 2.25%, is that a good grade? Because people have been more familiar perhaps with other, commodities, copper, gold, for example.
Right, so it'd be at the lower end of the grade.
Okay.
But you've got people that are mining 1.5, 1.6% in Africa. But very often that's also got another commodity with it.
Okay.
But what we've got to appreciate is this is one hole across the vast area. So what we've done since then, we've reviewed all of the historic reports from the area, and we're talking about reports in terms of where they've been prospecting. And there's reports that say graphite is abundant in the area. Now, abundant is a big word to put in a geological report. And graphite is mentioned in numerous reports in this area. We've got a target area of 21 square kilometres. I think that's conservative. Nick's very happy with it. And what ultimately, once this all folds out, we'll find out who's right and who's wrong, and we'll have a beer and have a bit of a giggle over it.
Okay.
But this area is it's big, but you've got to put it in context as well of Ontario. Ontario's got a growing battery industry or gigafactory industry. You've got Lagdale's mine, which is about 80 kilometres south of us. That produces a tiny amount of graphite as a byproduct. And that's it in Ontario. So once you start to put that into context, Ontario trying to create a circular economy. And that's where they're going to draw as much as they can from within the borders of Ontario as they can to supply their industry. The government have already told us that they can put us in contact with end users should this grow and expand. And every indication we've got is this is going to grow, this is going to expand. And that's why we've got to get boots on the ground. We need to confirm, because this is all the surface. This is showing the surface. And we've got to get boots on the ground, snow melt. And once we can prove that up, this can grow very, very quickly, Mark.
Okay. Well, you say there a number of times that it's been said that it's abundant, really, and this is obviously the focus now. We've talked before, haven't we, though, about the sort of the conduit theory. That's the platinum, palladium, nickel as well. Is that theory dead now, or are you going after just purely the graphite?
Okay, so it actually builds that conduit theory. And this is why we have growing amount of interest in the area. So you need a big heat source to create graphite. This is everybody knows that you can now produce or make graphite in industry, but it's exceptionally expensive. It takes a huge amount of power, and that's why it will never compete with natural graphite ultimately in the long run. So everybody needs a source of graphite. But actually, to form graphite in nature, you need a huge heat source. So it actually builds the conduit story as opposed to kill it. Now, the reason that we're not looking and focusing in terms of the market and the marketing on the conduit story is that at the moment, it's looking like we've got a huge area of graphite sitting above a conduit, a potential conduit. So let's just do it one step at a time. If we prove up this graphite, and this graphite is very interesting, and that's sitting above this conduit, then people will start to put two and two together. Now, trust me, the industry is putting two and two together, hence the growing interest, because the industry understands the connotations here, and the conduit story is confirmed via the graphite, via the heat source, and basically, that's why it becomes even more interesting. If you can imagine an at-surface deposit that could lead into something substantial. So yeah, it truly is building. But I won't be focusing on the conduit story. That's we'll just keep that in our back pocket. We'll let the market work that out for itself. Hence why I'm not talking about it in any detail, because but it's a situation where the industry's becoming more and more aware.
Okay. So does the project now become purely a graphite focused play for Panther?
The awkward area does, yeah. We've got two focuses. We've got the VMS. We discovered two VMSs from 5 holes. Six holes, apologies. Remarkable strike rate, right? And we've got the graphite. All of it's on a bonga, but they're in separate areas of a bonga. So the focus is graphite, VMS. Now the conduit, the platinum, palladium, potential nickel story, that's there. That sits below the graphite. But listen, we're a junior explorer. Let's do one thing at a time. And as we build this out, as I say, this could develop at a rapid speed.
Right. Well, that brings us on then to the plans that Panther have. So your application is for 31 diamond core drill pads. So that's quite a number of drill pads there. And groundwork is now being planned to follow up on those historical reports where you say it's talking about graphite abundant at surface. So initially, what happens then? Are you sending people out to sort of look on the graph? Yep. Okay. Tell us what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's it. So we'll never drill 31 holes in that area. What you will see is you'll see another application go in further along strike, and that'll be for additional holes. We'll never drill all of those holes. What we're trying to do is get our permits in place. So we're trying to cover off a huge number of eventualities. So you're trying to look into the future. You're studying your geology, and you're putting that in place so that we don't have to go back and apply for permits as we expand this out. And it's that simple. That's why there's a lot of holes applied for. There won't be that number of holes drilled at this stage. But our first steps are literally snow melt, get boots on the ground, see. Let's put it this way, Mark. With the number of reports that have got graphite at surface over this extended area, remember, at the moment we're 21 square kilometres. That graphite hasn't disappeared in the last 30, 40, 50 years, right? That's going to be there, and it's going to be at surface if those reports are right. Our first stage is to prove that. Once we prove that, then we can really go to work. And it is an initial scouting mission, in effect. Okay. And that is at the first stages of snowmelt. As soon as the snowmelt comes, that'll be it. But you'll hear news. We'll announce when we've appointed someone to carry out that work on our behalf. And I wouldn't expect that news to be far away. And it's all funded out of the Fulcrum disposal. So yeah, it's genuinely, you're genuinely seeing a business now move to the next level. I mean, where the market's concerned, the market doesn't bother me so much now. I appreciate it's everything to our investors. But frankly, the more we prove this up, and we've got enough industry watching us, so we've got a lot of confidence internally in terms of what we're hearing from external sources, what we're seeing ourselves, what we're planning to do, what we know that news will generate from within the industry, and ultimately that will feed through to the market. So I have to just be a little bit almost a little bit arrogant where the market's concerned, because the market will eventually reward us for where we're at, and the market will start to link the graphite with the conduit theory. But let's not confuse this story. We are focused on graphite. We've got it over a big area, and we've got to prove that up. And it's Panther's now going to work, and we've had this poor market. The market's turning. We saw some big moves in Canada yesterday, which was a UK bank holiday in the sector, and I think you will see this spread quite quickly. So yeah, no, very pleasing.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, Darren Hazelwood, the CEO of Panther Metals.
Thanks, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.